Hey guys, what's up? Me, Macebacker again, and today welcome back to a new video. And today, for my 600 subscriber special, I'm going to be teaching you all how I make my thumbnail. I make my own thumbnails, and I thought why not show you guys how to do it yourself. If this video gets 60 likes, because there's 600 of y'all, I think 10% is reasonable. I will be doing a few more clans videos with Facecam. For today, I'm going to be showing you step by step how I get my thumbnails together. Now, the first thing that I do is usually when I have my own video, this is a bit of extra footage that I have. I usually try to find one still frame that I can use. Press Alt-Z on your print screen actually. When you do that, when you find a still frame and you press it, it will take one single frame of your monitor. So whatever size your monitor is, that's the frame that you're gonna get. Once you have that done, then I'm gonna go ahead and exit out of here because I no longer need that. I use Photoshop to edit all of my thumbnails, and this is actually the copy of my first thumbnail. So as you can see, I've got a bit of layering down to the right. I'll be showing you guys how to do all of this and a bit more in my video. But I was going to go ahead and share with you a few links that are going to be useful. Now the first one is, this is a video that I used to figure out how to get Photoshop for free. Now if y'all don't trust stuff like this off the internet, that's totally fine. I've used it, it works for me. If you want to try to do it, it's up to you to do. So it's just a quick little way to get Photoshop. That's the program that I use. It works really well for making thumbnails. It helps me a lot with layering and whatnot. I know there's a lot of other programs out there, but it can be a bit difficult and hectic if you don't have something as simple as Photoshop. This is my first ever thumbnail for Season 4. As you can see here, it's got a bit of effects and whatnot. But to start out, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to make it from scratch. So you want to go ahead and go to File and go to New. So you can name it whatever you want. I'm just going to leave it untitled because it really doesn't matter. And it will automatically choose the dimensions for your photo that you pressed Alt print screen. So you don't need to worry about resizing dimensions. I would usually keep the settings other settings than this top third right here, like color mode, stay RGB color and 8-bit, because it'll help you with thumbnails. Background content's white. Now usually sometimes I like to do transparent color, so it just depends on what you like, and it'll tell you about the image size that it will be. Now this will be the Photoshop document itself. When we load it in, it is a blank document. Now what you want to do is you're going to press Control-V, which is paste, and you will get the still single frame of your video that you're going to use for your thumbnail. Now this is a bit low quality just because it was taken out of a video file, so it's not going to be necessarily the best, but we're going to make it look a bit better using a few techniques. Now I'm going to go ahead and combine both the layers by going to here and going to merge layers. Now this will create one layer, and since it is locked, you want to double click it. I usually leave the name as background just because it helps me just separate it from the rest. Now the first trick that I use to kind of like edit thumbnails is I press Control-U, which is a shortcut for your keyboard, and I usually go to saturation. I turn up the saturation just a bit, usually bring the brightness a bit down. This kind of pops the different colors that you want to use in your thumbnail. Now hue you can mess with, but it can get a bit hectic if you don't know how to use hue properly. As you can see here, it'll help you warp colors and whatnot. Usually I will leave this at about +5 to -5, just depending on which one looks better in my opinion. Personally, right now I think +5 looks really good. It really pops some of the colors, will make for a really good thumbnail. Now the second thing that I like to do is I press Control-T, which is transform in Photoshop, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom out a bit. Now I usually like to rotate the photo, and you can see how much it's rotated in this top corner right here. I usually set it to about 1 degree and leave it centered. Now as you can see here, there is some transparency in the corners. Now how I can get rid of that is if I link the width and the height up here, I can usually go to about 110, and as you can see here, it'll automatically resize the photo to 110% of what it was. Now basically once you're here, you can drag the photo around and find what dimensions are really good. Now I'm going to go ahead and change it down to 105 because I feel like that will resize it, fit in enough that I want to fit in. And I'm going to lower the percentage down to 0.5 so I can also include some of those legends in the hotbar, because you know those are really hot. Those are good for clickbait. So I really feel like this dimension right here is really good. I'm going to go ahead and crop the photo. Crop tool, let's just say I'm not the best at. I could just go ahead and crop and it'll automatically do it. But the first thing that we're going to go ahead and do from here is we're going to go ahead and get out the logo. Now I have a custom file for my logo. I made this myself. It is using some text features like stroke and bounce and layer styles, and if you guys want me to do a short video on how I made this, because I will be making my Clan Season 5 one once we get closer to Season 5. So if you guys want to have another video like this, just leave a comment down below so I know that you guys want it. Now the first thing that I'm going to do is another keyboard control, which is Control-A, which selects all in the photo, then Control-C for copy. Go ahead and go back to the document that I want to do and Control-V. I press Control-T one more time, and then I can move over the logo to exactly where I want it. This side looks good, but it could interfere with the scepter, so I'm going to go ahead and rotate it just a bit and drag it over here. Now the first thing I'm going to show off is the person who I get my renders from is Defender. If you don't know who Defender is, he's another Clans player. he does some cool art, and I would just want to give him a quick shout out because he made my renders. I have a lot that I bought from him. He's really good at doing this stuff, so quick shout out to him. And also, some of the effects I use in the background are just quick Google searches. Now, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys some parameters on how I find the effects that I use. So first thing I ever did was I typed effects, and this is one of the ones that I use. Now, I know what you're thinking, that the screen is black. How does it fit correctly in the thumbnail? Now, if you are looking for an effect, I would suggest downloading one with a black background like this, and I'll go into more depth why in a second. You go ahead and open up your downloaded files. Now, as you can see here, I've got a bit of stuff in my downloads. I'm going to go ahead and open up 3 different ones. Now, these are the 3 that I've used for my thumbnails for Season 4 so far. They're really good. They're really good effects. There's nothing really much else that I could say than that. So, the one that I usually put behind my logo is this effect right here. Control-A to select all, Control-C to copy it, and Control-V, and there it is. Now, I would suggest dragging this lower than your logo layer, and if you want to organize your layers a bit, you can go ahead and double click and rename your layers. You want to go ahead and make sure you have the correct layers selected when you do Control-T, and this will take the image and you can drag it over and resize it. Now, a cool thing for resizing, if you don't want to link the layers up here, you could just press Control-Shift. Now you have your effect in place, but it is still covering up the background. A quick simple fix to this is if you go to this tab right here above the layers, you go to Normal, you scroll down to Screen, it will automatically get rid of the black background and leave just the effect, which I think is really cool. And then you can drag it around, find what dimensions feel good for you. As I did before, you could do Control-U, and then you can go over here to Hue, and you can change the hue, which will change the color. So if you want the yellowish color for this effect, or you want like a purple or a pink even, or just any color that you can really find, like a green, I guess we'll leave it on green. You can adjust the saturation by dragging the saturation bar, and this will either make colors really pop. Right now, I think that looks really good for the thumbnail, so I'm gonna go and leave it like that. So if you do get renders from Defender, which is kind of funny because that rhymes, I am gonna use just one of the renders. I'm gonna use my second one that I've got for him that is of Diamond Armor, and I'm gonna go ahead and paste it here. And I went ahead and go to Transform. Since I want to flip it, I'm going to do negative 100% on the width, and then boom, it is perfect. I can resize it to the size that I want, and then boom, paste it, or enter, and then I have my render. Then I can rename it, boom. This would be a perfect thumbnail just to upload like this, but I feel like I could do a bit more with the thumbnail. Now, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm not going to use this background, or I don't even need this open anymore. I'm going to go and take this effect, which is another one that I've gotten offline. Go ahead and copy that bad boy, paste it, and then resize it to how I want. Now I'm going to go and zoom out just a bit so I can find the perfect size that I need for this. Now I'm going to make this a bit large just because it was a bit large of a render. So as you can see here, it's going to be pretty large when I paste it, but also you want to drag it underneath your render, and then you can rename it again. I'm just going to rename this one Effect 2, not doing anything too fancy. And then boom, we got something good. I'm gonna resize the brute render just a bit, just because I feel like that's popping a bit too much on the eye. Might not be totally the best. I'm gonna resize it just a bit, and then voila, we have a perfect looking thumbnail. Now, a few more adjustments that I can make to this is I could go ahead and add a little border along to the outside. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to Layer, I'm gonna go to New, and I'm gonna go Layer. I'm just gonna rename this Border, because that's the simple thing to do. I'm going to go and drag it to the top, and I'm going to go ahead and use my rectangular marquee tool, which is a fancy Photoshop tool, I guess you could call it. It's on the right side on the tools, and I'm going to go ahead and select the size of the border that I want. So right there, as you can see here, the 2 purple lines that are crossing across mean that I have a perfectly sized border. Now what I want to do with this is I want to go ahead and go to another tool, which is the gradient tool. It's a bit lower. And as you can see here, you have a ton of different gradients that you can choose from. I'm going to go ahead and select the red, blue, and yellow gradient, as you can see here. Before I paste anything, I need to go ahead and select the inverse, so it is actually the border. I'm going to adjust the opacity a bit, and if you guys want to like slow down the video and see exactly what I'm doing, you can do that. And then I can just drag it anywhere, and it will make a border for my thumbnail. And I believe that this looks good. So this is basically a finished thumbnail, in my opinion. I think it goes really good. It's got tons of different contrasting colors that really make it pop. It's got a good effect on everything. I could add adjustments to like the scepter to add the border and whatnot along that, like my last thumbnail, but I'm gonna go ahead and open up that specific file to show you guys. As you see here, the scepter background is a bit different because I selected the scepter, added a ton of cool effects to it, but just because I am going to be simple and I am going to cheat, I'm going to go ahead and copy it and paste it, and then boom, there's a bit of a scepter effect on it, which is kind of cheating, but who cares? I could do that. This is my special video. So guys, that is it for the thumbnail making process. Now once you guys have that complete, you can go up to File and then go to Save, because you want to save your work. And I'm going to go and just save it in my downloads as test thumbnail. So boom, you have a test thumbnail completely created, or I do, and you guys should have something along the lines as well. So with that done, I can go ahead and if you want to upload this to YouTube to obviously use on a video, you cannot use a Photoshop document, which is what this saves as. It'll save all the individual layers for edits, but you do not want that. You want to go to Save As, and you want to go down to Save As Type. You want to save it as a JPEG, and it will save with the settings that you put here. So for this, I usually just do Mate None Quality Maximum, because it will make the file size 1.4 megabytes. YouTube has a cap at 2 megabytes for a thumbnail, but this will save it at 180p, make a really beautiful thumbnail. So save quality at 12. There's no point in declining it because it's already below the maximum. So you can go ahead and save it, and then boom, you have a completed thumbnail similar to the likes of these. Now this one took me roughly a lot of time because I wanted to recolor it, make my own special border for it, and a ton of other cool stuff. As you can see here, it is a bit sloppy layer wise, but usually I don't spend a lot of time editing the layers to my thumbnails, but I believe that this is a good looking thumbnail. This is for my episode 10 of Clans, and I hope y'all did enjoy it. Y'all like kind of got me to 600 subs off of that video. So as I said before, if you want to save this for a thumbnail for YouTube, save as, and that is that. So that is everything to making a thumbnail for YouTube, guys. I hope y'all did enjoy and learned a lot on how to make thumbnails yourself. If you guys want any more info on stuff like this, like how I make my videos, how I edit my videos, anything like that, thank y'all for watching. I appreciate y'all, and I will see you all in the next videos, which is hopefully Clans when it's fixed.